We're here to talk about music marketing trends. How do we use music as a passion point for consumers and with brands to drive ROI and drive results? It's been the Wild West with music since the Stones did Jovan 30 years ago, and it's evolving every day. So we're here to talk about what works, what doesn't work, and what is 2019 going to look like. So we'll let the artists answer the questions. The first is, when we talk to artists about working with brands, we get two different responses. On one hand is, yeah, it's a necessary evil. We're not selling CDs, we're not selling downloads, got to make up the difference. Brand money is good, it's a necessary evil. The other side is artists who are like, no, I love to partner with brands. It gives us great rich content, new distribution channels. We think it's the future. So Sam, where were you in between those two?
Well, you know, look, when we first started, it's as every young musician coming up, you're just trying to like figure out how to navigate this business. It's a crazy business. And when we started working with brands, it was an exciting opportunity for us because we had already kind of seen it work for other bands. You know, that Phoenix ad and like I think it was a Cadillac commercial that blew up that song for them. You know, so we had seen that work already. So when opportunities to work together with brands started coming up for us, we already kind of in the back of our heads knew like, oh, this could be a really great thing for us and for the song. So yeah, I mean, like, look, it's not always peachy and great. Sometimes it's you know, you clash, you know, but the experiences that we've had with the brands that we've worked with have pretty much all been great. You know, I think more and more, just as an outsider, it always surprises me sitting in these meetings with heads of these brands about how much they want the project to feel like we have some emotional stake in the message being driven. I think that's just such a breath of fresh air, and it's also, I think it's an important way to, I mean, for the brand to sell their product. You know, it's much easier to have someone up there talking about something they really truly feel and really truly believe in than, you know, people see through bullshit really easily. You know, it's yeah.
Right. Lindsay, so you've done, I mean, Budweiser, Monster Energy. So where does that fit in your spectrum in terms of necessary evil versus, wow, it was a great partnership?
I mean, kind of what Sam was saying, when you are just starting out, you know, as a new artist, you're looking for any and every opportunity. But our experience has been so positive. I mean, I'm kind of a workaholic. You know, we played 235 shows last year, and being able to partner with the right brands that, you know, you can talk passionately about and your fans believe it, but also that give extra experiences. I mean, we just finished a little headlining club tour, and Monster Energy worked with us on the whole thing, and I got to create so many cool fan experiences at the show in addition to what I just normally would have done ourselves because of the partnership with Monster. So in a way, it's just added all of these extra things that I wouldn't have done without a brand.
Got it. So I realized since I've got two rock stars on the stage, Daniel, I kind of like left you out.
He's the third rock star.
Yeah, he is.
Which I have Daniel Sena, a very good friend we've been working with for years, from head of brand partnerships at Interscope. So when we send you the brief for a project, page 1 is all about the brand. Page 2 is what our big idea is. Page 3 is what we want the artist to do. And page 4 is the budget. Which page you going to first?
Now, it's got to pass the smell test, right? So the budget, as much as people might think is the first page we go to, it's got to work for the artist. And when it does, then the budget, you know, then we get to that page. But if it doesn't, we always filter before we bring anything to the artists, right? So if it's not going to work, you know, we won't bring it any further. And it may not work for the artist that, you know, the brand is seeking. It may work for a different artist instead. But it's got to be right. It's got to work. You know, timing is also really important. I think a lot of the best partnerships are when the artist project and what the brand's looking to do are aligned timing-wise. It's sort of the rising tide raises all ships. So, you know, we can overuse the term authenticity and things like that, but it really does have to be that. And then, you know, the budget it's a real sort of conversation. But the reality is, the industry has gotten a lot healthier in the last few years. And I think before where, maybe go back 5 years ago when there wasn't as much revenue from the streaming or from the consumption side of things, we would be a little bit more dependent on the budget. I think now, if we can partner with the brand in the right way and really make an artist's song or their album a lot bigger, we'll win through the other facets. Having a big hit song will win elsewhere. So it's not so much focused on the budget as maybe a few years ago when the industry was a little bit, was suffering a bit more financially. That would be a bigger sort of line item.
So if a brand's going to come to you and say, we want to do an association with an artist, and we have 800 retail stores, and we have 5 million visitors every week, but we can't pay the artist, but we feel the exposure is worth it, are you pushing back? Are you going to take it to the artist? How are you going to navigate that?
Well, sometimes the decision's not entirely ours. Sometimes there are different rights holders, and we know that there's going to be a publisher or a songwriter that we've got to navigate through as well. So generally, if it's going to be something that's going to benefit the project, if it's timing that works well, if we're going out with a new X-Ambassadors single, and we're really trying to
Which we are. Song comes out tonight, by the way.
Woo! That's true. We're going to try to put as much visibility behind it as possible. Other times, certain opportunities can have cannibalizing effects in the market, so we have to be cognizant of that as well. If we say, hey, we're going to do this big campaign at this retailer that Marcus has brought us, but it may curtail another opportunity down the road, we have to weigh that.
Got it. And Sam, you mentioned there's campaigns that you see that you're like, wow, that's a great campaign. Are there any campaigns or brands or ideas that you're like, oh man, this would have been great for us. This is something I'd love to
I mean,
do.
that's just like, my therapist just recently told me, he said, comparison is the thief of joy. And I feel like I'm always, it's a great quote, by the way. It's a great quote. I'm always doing that. I'm always like looking at all these other spots and being like, God damn, we could have done that. Yeah, we could have done that. But yeah, I think more and more, and it's not just, commercials you see, like more and more, we are finding ways to collaborate with brands on events that we want to do, or tours, like that's so cool that Monster Energy got involved in your tour. That's, the same thing happened with us and Verizon last year, and we had a couple other partners on our last tour, which was so helpful because, touring is expensive. It's very expensive. We also have our own music festival that we put on every year in our hometown of Ithaca, New York. It's called Cayuga Sound. And we were able to bring in some great sponsors, and we did some content for them in exchange. And the best, but back to your question, the best collaborations I see are always just where it looks like the artist is actually, talking about something they care about. I can't think of any specifically off the top of my head. But.
So one of the trends for the last 2 years, and it's going on, is brands to fund tracks. So we had Absolute, they funded a Rita Ora track, and they're not in the lyrics. They just fund the track and then get to kind of take ownership of it. How do you feel about brands now funding recordings?
I think it's great. I mean, look, again, it's like, you can look at it like, oh man, this we have this other entity like looking. We already have the label like giving their opinion on what songs we're making, and our management, and each member of the the songwriting team or band or like you have all these other opinions, and then to top it all off, you have a brand coming and giving their opinion. But you can also look at it like you never know where your break is going to come from, and there are few breaks that you get in your career, few big ones. So I'm always surprised, honestly, whenever I go into something and I like someone's like, so-and-so wants to know if you'd write an original song for this commercial, for this campaign. I try to, usually my reaction goes like this. I'm like, oh, I wish I didn't have to fucking do these things. and then I'm like, no, you never know how this is going to turn out. So just do it. Just do it. And I do it, and I usually come up with something great, because if I'm in that room writing something and pouring my heart into it, it's gonna be something that I care about. Like I'm not gonna waste my time or someone else's time in a studio environment writing a song that I don't care about. And so I'm pretty much always really, really pleasantly surprised whenever I collaborate with either, whether it's with a brand or a film or or what have you.
Great. And Lindsay, kind of the same question. How do you feel about sponsorship, we know, but in terms of writing original music and content with a brand in mind, how does that resonate with you?
I think it's great. I think anything to stimulate new creativity in whatever way that comes, kind of what Sam said, you never know what's going to come from those situations. And oftentimes, walking into writes where we're forced to write in a certain direction, it's like, oh my goodness, I have no idea where this is going to go. But every time I've done it, it's been pleasantly surprising as well. And it's just surprising to really see where some of your investment actually you get returns from. You talk about having a good ROI, and like when we were working with Monster, it was really interesting when they were investing in different ways we were marketing our tour. And so all the money that we spent socially, I noticed such a huge just impact on every ad we did on Instagram. And yet we did a big radio buy ad, and ticket sales were they just went up, they skyrocketed from doing something as archaic as radio buy ads, which it seems like that is completely of the past, but it didn't. It was so impacting. So it's just surprising to, just keep your mind open and really utilize all the different aspects.
Yeah, and I would also just kind of say that most brands who are implementing something like this, who want to get an artist in the studio and are willing to pay for it, we live in an age of no bullshit, and people can see through facade really, really easily. And I think brands know that, and so they're not looking for you to write a jingle for them, that feels inauthentic. They're looking for you to do something that is. They're coming to you because you're you, because you're an incredible performer.
They could pay a jingle writer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can.
Yeah, we don't allow any bullshit brands into the conference, by the way.
Good.
It's one of our number one rules. We put them right out. Daniel, what do you think in terms of, for us, we've noticed that I've had my brands come to us and want to do longer term partnerships with artists and create products. So we had Blake Shelton create a vodka. So it's a 5-year partnership and something where, it's really going to be a long-term promotional relationship. So that's a trend. Any other trends for the next year? How is music going to kind of evolve in the marketing scheme here?
It's a good question. One of the things I think what's happening right now, given the advent of streaming and sort of this always-on culture and marketing that we live in, is that, I would say before we would have, 100 artists and maybe 40 of them would be in cycle. You'd have an artist, they'd make an album, they'd be, they'd go away for a year and a half, come back, put their album out, 12 or 13 songs, tour for 2 years, then disappear again. Now, obviously, you don't have a physical piece of product that you have to manufacture and ship. You're able to do this digitally, and you're able to read the tea leaves in real time. Put a song out, how is it responding? Are people clicking? Are they skipping through it? Are they replaying it, adding it to a playlist, et cetera? So we get real data back. But also what that means is, if we had 100 artists, before and 40 of them were in cycle, now we have 200 artists because we can sign more, and it's about market share and percentage of the revenue pie, and you probably have 80% of them that are in cycle. So for us, there's a lot more out there, as a label that we're balancing right now, but we're getting the data back in real time. And I think just that's, if you look at, say, 2019 versus, say, 2016, that's one of the big differences.
Got it. And Lindsay, as we'll wrap it up, any dream brands or dream categories you're like, oh my God, why can't Mercedes come along and offer? No, just any that really kind of.
I will easily take a Mercedes. Where do we start? I'm big into health and fitness and working out. Daniel's making fun of me posting videos with my trainer all the time, and just being a woman in country music is such a sensitive topic right now because there's just not enough of us, and so I'm all about women empowerment and females and just doing anything I can to sort of sell that mission.
Awesome. All right, in 45 minutes, your ears are going to be blown away. Get a drink, come back, hear the music, and you can say hi to these guys. Thanks, everyone.